Are you having a hard time finding basic food essentials in the grocery store? Seeing all those bare shelves was the inspiration for this recipe. Strap in for this one because today we are making a Southern potluck classic, Hawaiian rolls. We will start this bread using the tangzong method. This means we will cook a small portion of the flour and milk before adding it to the rest of the ingredients. This method creates a softer, fluffier bread and can extend the shelf life. Measure out 3½ cups of bread flour and pull 3 tablespoons from that bowl. Add the 3 tablespoons of bread flour to a saucepan along with ½ cup of whole milk. Whisk together to remove the lumps, then heat the saucepan over medium to medium-high heat. Whisk over medium heat until it starts to thicken and has a pudding-like texture. This process is pretty fast and takes a few seconds, and it also can be done in a microwave. I prefer doing it on the stove so I can maintain more control over the heat. Set the tangzong aside and allow it to cool. Next, we're going to mix together 1 cup of milk with ½ cup of honey. Whisk together and try to get as much of the honey off the bottom as you can. Add the remaining 3½ cups of flour, minus those 3 tablespoons we used for the tangzong, to a mixing bowl. Follow with 2 teaspoons of yeast and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Give it a good stir before adding the cooled tangzong. It doesn't have to be stone cold, just slightly cooled before adding. Fold the tangzong into the flour using a spatula or a spoon. Stir together on low before adding the liquid ingredients. Next, slowly add the milk and honey mixture until no dry flour remains. Increase the mixer speed to medium-low and knead for 10 minutes. 10 minutes later and the dough is past the window pane test. Now we're going to transfer this extremely sticky dough to a greased bowl. Flip the dough in the bowl to coat both sides with cooking spray. This will make it easier to handle later. Cover tightly with plastic wrap and prove in a warm place for 1.5 hours. After an hour and a half, the dough has doubled in size, so now we can move on to a refresher in elementary school math. Just kidding. You don't have to measure anything out, but I like to be precise to ensure the rolls are the same size. First, line a 9x13 pan with tinfoil and coat with cooking spray. Gently deflate the dough to get all the big air bubbles out, and break out a scale if you want. Tear or zero out the scale and cover it with parchment paper. This just keeps it clean. Our dough weighs in at a hefty 952 grams. Divide this by 12 and we come up with a weight of about 79 grams per roll. Next, divide the dough into quarters and then divide each quarter into thirds for a total of 12 pieces. The fun part is measuring out each piece and adding or subtracting dough until you get about 79 grams per dough ball. Place the rough dough ball shape onto a clean surface, seam side down. Cup your hand around the edges of the dough ball and gently drag it to form a tight roll. Then place each dough ball seam side down into the greased pan. Loosely cover with plastic wrap and prove at room temperature for another hour to hour and a half or until the rolls have doubled in size. Today is a warm day, so it's been only about an hour and the rolls have doubled in size. You can tell when they're proved enough because when you poke them, they spring back. Next, mist them with water and bake at 350 degrees for 25 to 27 minutes. Rotate halfway through the bake. Finish them off with a little melted butter, naturally, and they will be perfect. These Hawaiian rolls are perfect as dinner rolls, but can also be used to make your favorite sliders. Be on the lookout for videos where we make hot ham and cheese sliders, meatball marinara sliders, and pulled pork sliders. Delicious. Until next time, thanks for watching.